Hey, how's it going, guys? Chris Jaxon here. Today, I wanted to talk about something I've never talked about before on this channel, and that is upright bass. Reason why I want to talk about it is because I've been playing a lot more upright bass, and I've been doing it a lot more live than I ever have before. And through doing that, I've learned a lot of things. I've upgraded a lot of things on my setup. I just thought could be fun to talk about. So let's just sort of talk about why I'm playing more upright bass. I joined a bluegrass group called the Michienzie Band, and it's usually a 4-piece, sometimes a 3-piece, sometimes a 5-piece, but I got kind of just dropped into it pretty quickly. Seemingly every couple weeks I have a gig on upright bass. Through doing that, I've kind of seen things I've needed to change in my setup. So let me just start with my bass. This is an Engelhardt EM1. It's considered a student bass. Engelhardt basically is like the new K. And I don't even think they're around anymore. You see them a lot. I think this one specifically sounds very good, which is why I bought it. Even when I didn't know much about basses, I could just tell this was good. It plays very well, super easy, and I think a great sound. So that is the only upright bass I have. I would love to eventually get another one just to have more options. This is a 3/4 sized upright, which is the standard size. I don't know, maybe it could be cool to get a 7/8 size bass one of these days, but they're expensive and this one's treating me fine. So I have currently D'Addario Zyx strings. The reason being Barry Bales, the bass player for Alison Krauss, he uses them. They're good enough for him, they're good enough for me. Then I have this thing over here, which is made by Explore Audio, and it's an H clamp for a microphone. So this is my microphone right here. And what I like about the H clamp, rather than using a stand, is the mic moves with my bass. So if I'm doing, I wouldn't do this, but if I'm moving around the stage or even just swaying or anything, the mic moves with me. So I don't need to worry as much about staying in one spot to get the best sound. So that's really nice for an upright. I don't know. I guess it would probably be cool on like an acoustic or something, but upright especially makes a lot of sense because it's just such a big thing and you might not have the wherewithal to stay exactly in one spot. You might lose placement really easily in a live setting. So this eliminates that. The mic I'm using, technically it's my dad's, but it's an Audix SRX1, and it's a cardioid condenser mic. Sounds really good. It's small, so it works well with this H clamp, and I sort of have it pointing between the bridge and the end of the fingerboard, sort of where if I was to draw a straight line from it, it would hit right in the middle of my bass. And I don't know, that's not like the way to do it. That's just what I think sounds good for this mic and for my bass. That's what I've got going on, and I'll just leave it at that for now as far as my bass gear. So I'll just play a bit. This is microphone only. So that's a pretty nice sound, very clear, has a lot of air to it. And then I have a Fishman full circle pickup. What I like about this a lot is that this bridge is adjustable, meaning it has 2 screws that you turn to adjust the height of the bridge. This pickup is one of those screws. So it's very stable. It's screwed onto your bass. It's not like what I used to use, which was the Underwood pickup, which you just sort of slide in this notch and it would fall out sometimes. I don't think it sounded as good. So huge improvement right there. Now, what I usually do in conjunction with that, and actually I would say this is more of my main sound, is I have a pedal board. So on my pedal board, which I will have a picture of right now, I'm going into a tuner and then a DOD Meatbox, which is like a octave synth sort of thing, very subby. And then I am going into a Boss bass chorus, CE2B, vintage, sounds great. And then I have an Earthquaker Afterneath reverb. And then I go into my Walrus Audio Badwater bass preamp. It's awesome. It has an XLR out, it's got EQ, it's got a drive section, it's got a compressor built in too. So it's a lot of things in one, which is really nice. Now I'll play just the pickup going into the board. Only my pickup goes into my board, not my mic, which is why I played just the mic first. So now this is just the pickup into my board, only the preamp. So that's a good sound. It's very supportive. By itself, not a ton of depth or air. It's a lot more direct. You could maybe say a little dead sounding, but I would rather have only that sound just because we go through pedals a lot. We're sort of a jammy bluegrass band, so it's good to just have those. And the other reason being, it's just a more direct sound. It's easier for a sound guy to deal with just that than just a mic in a live situation. So if I have to pick one, it's the pickup. But together, that's the best sound by a lot, in my opinion. So here's both of them together. So you get that quick response of the pickup and the bassiness and support, but you get the air and depth and liveliness of a mic together. So that is, in my opinion, the way to do it if you're playing live. And also, if I'm recording, that's what I do as well. The pickup's already there, right? I'm not installing a pickup to record. I might as well also record with it, and it just gives me more options later. That's just my opinion. Another thing that kind of only applies to live, because what you're hearing right now, this is everything I use live, but it's set up in a way that works in this isolated sort of setting I'm in right now. On my Walrus preamp, I can pretty much never get away with that much low end in a live room. It will usually be either overwhelmingly bassy or it'll just feed back and I just can't do it at all. So normally I have my bass around here. So obviously a little leaner on the low end, but in a room, because of how big this body is and because of how, subby the speakers are and where the speakers are in relation to me, because if there's a monitor right in front of me, that can cause a lot of feedback, even if I'm not using it. But if there's a monitor right here for the guitarist or the mandolin player or whatever, it can cause feedback, just the proximity of where I am to those speakers. So cutting back on the low end helps the sound guy make me sound good. I would like to have more low end, but in a live setting, it's way less important. What's more important is that I'm heard and I'm not messing up the sound. Hey there, it's Chris from the future. This is something that's not like super important. I didn't think it was worth mentioning at the time, that I made the video, but I feel like I might as well, since it's something I do sometimes do live with upright bass. If I just am in a real bad feedback spot and there's nothing I can really do about it, sometimes what I used to do was I would take foam and I would put it in the F-holes. Main thing I don't like about that is it overly deadens the sound. It definitely helps with the feedback, but it just changes the sound too much. And also just doesn't look very good. But one thing I have started doing that I like a lot better is using a tennis ball. I'll take the tennis ball and I'll just put it right there behind the bridge. And it's just making a bit of contact with the body and the bridge. It slightly muffles it, but it's not very noticeable, especially in a live situation. You know, acoustically, if you're just in the room and you're A-Bing them, you could probably hear a slight difference, but it's just the slight bit of taming that could keep it from feedbacking at least a bit more. It's an easy thing to try. I would say it's worth keeping one around if you just need a bit more dampening to happen. Another thing though to keep in mind is when you have a mic and a pickup going at the same time, they might go out of phase. I can flip the phase on my interface, but what I'm actually doing, because this is what I do live, is I have an adapter that flips the phase of the mic for me. I don't need to tell the sound guy to flip it. It's just already going to be there. It's just one less thing to worry about or to rely on someone else to do. I know it's going to be out of phase if it's not there, so I just put it on and we're fine. And just so you can kind of hear the difference between an in-phase mic and an out-of-phase mic, here's in-phase real quick. Now here's out of phase. So it doesn't sound terrible, and if you were out of phase, you might not necessarily notice until you flip it, and then it's, oh, wow, obviously this is way better sounding. Just something to keep in mind if you're using a pickup and a mic together, you definitely want to make sure you're in phase. If it's sounding sort of not how you expected, that's a good possibility. So big difference. This adapter right here, which I got from B&H Photo, just really makes your life a lot easier. So I'll talk about some of the pedals I use now, starting with the DOD Meatbox. Like I said before, it's a sub-synth octave pedal. I have it fairly subtle, especially on an upright, because I don't want this overwhelming boominess that could happen when you're playing upright. It's this big acoustic body, right? So already that can produce a lot of low end that can create feedback. So adding an octave lower than that could be messy if you overdo it. So here it is. So that was it, pickup only. Now I'm going to blend the mic in, and that will make it sound, in my opinion, a lot better. And it definitely works better when you're higher up on the fingerboard, but you can use it lower. It's just gonna maybe be muddier. So again, pretty subtle, just gives a bit of this cool lower octave thing that I can use maybe on a solo or, I don't know, during a psychedelic breakdown sort of thing that we do. So that's the Meatbox. Now we have the Boss CE2B. Like I said, is a vintage Boss pedal, so it runs on 12 volts. Luckily, the Strymon Zuma power supply that I use for this board has a switch for one of the outputs that makes it 12 volts. So that solves that problem. But it's a great chorus. Again, I'm kind of subtle with it because I'm just trying to add a bit of color to my tone. I have the Earthquaker Afterneath, which is a reverb pedal. Super cavernous, spacey, out there reverb. Definitely not your typical like slapback or plate, but it's really nice sounding. I've always loved it on a fretless electric, and so I figured I would like it on the upright, and I do. Again, kind of low in the mix, but just gives me another texture to work with. I also really like using the reverb when I play with a bow. I'm not great with a bow, I'll admit. I'm getting better. I'm working on it, but definitely, I play mainly electric, so at least I have that sort of facility when I'm not playing my upright to keep my chops up. But the only time I ever bow is on upright. So if I'm not if I'm not bowing on upright, I'm not bowing at all. And I've never been amazing at it. It's never been my focus. When I was studying upright bass regularly, it was almost always jazz. I mainly just do it for like intros to songs. If we're like holding out like an E and we're making it spacey and yada yada. Sometimes I'll solo with it, but it's really just a soundscape kind of thing with me. But I hope to get better. But I'll leave the reverb on and I'll add the bow. This is a chestnut haired bow, so it's not fully black hair. It's not white hair. It's somewhere in between. It's a bit more coarse, so it grips the strings a little more than a white haired bow would. And the wood is Pernambuco, and I'm not a bow guy, but I think this is an improvement from what I used to use, which was just some random like $20 bow. Here I go. Oh, and I use a Pops bass rosin, which is I think the standard, so if you use a bow, you probably do that too. But anyway, here we go. That's all the bowing you'll get from me today, because I'm kind of embarrassed by how not good I am at it. And one other thing that I forgot to mention, and so I'm resetting up real quick. So if it sounds the slightest bit different, the mic might have gotten a little moved. But I forgot to talk about the drive section of the Badwater preamp. So obviously, I don't think anyone really loves the sound of an overdriven upright bass. I'm more so just using this so when I solo, I get just a bit of an edge. I just pop out a little more. I'll just compare the not boosted to the boosted. So here's just my regular preamp. Just a little more aggressive and doesn't ruin the sound too much, especially when I have a mic that's staying the same while that happens. So the other thing about using a microphone, especially a condenser microphone, is you typically need phantom power. Some microphones require a bit of extra juice to even turn on. So maybe on your interface or some preamp you have, there's a like 48V button. And that's when you would turn that on to power a mic that needs phantom power. Most live soundboards will have that, but just in case, I have this little adapter sort of pedal, I guess you could say, that I can put between the mic and the front of house that will give me that 48 volts I need for this mic to even work. It runs on a battery, it's rechargeable. And again, that's just like a if I need it sort of thing, but I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Just other little things. For cables, I pretty much only use Divine Noise cables. They're great. They come in different colors. That's fun. And this is a Pedal Train Nano Plus board, and I'm using a Strymon Zuma to power my pedals. So I think sonically, I've greatly improved my sound on upright bass since I first started. But if there's anyone watching this that is more seasoned than I am and has any suggestions for maybe what mics you use, because this is a nice mic. I'm not an expert on mics. I just know it sounds good. My recording engineer father says it sounds good and I believe him. So he's letting me kind of borrow this, but you know, I'm always open to trying out different ones, maybe ones that are not as valuable, so I don't care if I mess them up. But yeah, it's been really fun getting back into upright and sort of just learning a new genre that I didn't really grow up with, because bluegrass was not a thing I was into, being from Los Angeles. And it's really helped me just kind of grow as a player and just open my mind a little to a new thing, which is really fun as a musician. So yeah, if you are interested in seeing me, I'll add some dates that I'm playing with that band below in the description. We're doing California Coast tour again in this summer, and then we're also doing an East Coast thing this summer, and then we're going to go to Europe this summer. So we're we're kind of all over the place. So if you're in any of the areas, come by, say hi. We're a good time. So thanks for watching. Just wanted to do a quick little video. If I change anything, maybe I'll sort of update you guys in a couple months. Cool. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Take care.